My name is Angelina Mambo and you are welcome to BTV News Hour. On this very day, the 28th of June 2016, there are so many headlines today on various Nigerian and Biafra newspapers and the rest of the world, but we have decided to report the most interesting news. So let's start with the first headline. Biafrexit has been the talk of the town internationally speaking. But let me start by reading this news from the Trend Online Nigeria, with the headline, Biafrexit vote, campaign for referendum on independent Biafra launched. Following yesterday global shocker, the Brexit vote, a new referendum campaign Biafrexit has been launched and could potentially also shock the world. A referendum known as Brexit was held on Thursday, June 23, 2016, culminating in the decision by Britons to quit the EU. Perhaps inspired by this turn of events, the indigenous people of Biafra on Friday has launched a campaign officially known as Biafrexit Vote for a referendum on independence for Biafra. An IPOB spokesperson, Clifford Iranya, said in an email to the Trend, the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, under the leadership of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, hereby officially launched the campaign slogan titled Biafrexit Vote. Then we have similar news from IB Times UK reporting about same Biafrexit, saying, and I quote, days after the UK voted to leave the EU, supporters of the pro-Biafra movement are calling for a referendum on a possible breakaway of Biafran territories, possibly annexed to modern-day Nigeria during British colonization. The indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, urged the British government, one of the Nigerians' closest allies, to support a referendum on independence. Unfortunately, there are some Nigerian politicians that didn't really digest very well a call for a Biafrexit vote, such as Senator Ben Murray Bruce, who wants IPOB. To that regard, I will read this headline from Daily Post Nigeria. Biafrexit, Senator Ben Bruce issues strong warning to IPOB and others. The senator has warned against the call for disintegration of Nigeria, saying that the country is better as one. Recall that the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, officially launched Biafrexit Vote as its campaign slogan following the referendum in Britain on Thursday, which saw the country pulling out of the EU. The pro-Biafra agitators are calling for a similar referendum that will see the Igbos attaining self-determination. Senator Bruce made the warning via his Twitter handle at Ben Murray Bruce, calling on Nigerians, especially those seeking secession, to think twice as the country has a lot to benefit as one rather to disintegrate. In response to Senator Ben Murray Bruce, Biafra writers of the Biafra Times responded saying, and I quote, Biafrans, just like the Britons, also has the free liberty and right to vote in a referendum to decide whether to exit or remain in Nigeria. The exit of Biafra from Nigeria has been long overdue. We are urging the EU, UN, US, Prime Minister and President all over the world that value human rights to support the call for the restoration of Biafra and order Buhari to announce the date for Biafra referendum. If Brexit is good for Britain, Biafrexit also good for Biafra. Talking about human rights, the next headline from the authority Nigeria is that Nigerian government have no respect for human rights, said the current CEO of the National Coordinator of Human Rights Writers Association of Nigeria, HURIWA, Emmanuel Onwubiko. Onwubiko said that he was aware that the present government had only been in office for about a year, but based on what he has been seeing and observed so far, he was not convinced that the retired General Muhammadu Buhari-led administration was going to be different from previous one. According to him, human rights in Nigeria is not in a very good shape based on the way law enforcement agencies like the Nigerian Police Force, DSS, EFCC, among others, go about their duty. He also wondered why government is talking about giving amnesty to terrorists instead of prosecuting them. The human rights activists, however, urged the president to look at the demand of agitators in the Niger Delta with carefulness. Onwubiko further said that indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, has been demanding for a Biafrexit referendum as they don't have interest to continue as one Nigeria. According to him, instead of the government to engage them in constructive dialogue so as to convince them on why the country should continue as one, they sent soldiers to went there to massacre the armless people. Onwubiko condemned such acts in a democracy. According to the headline of The Guardian News USA, it seems that the APC party in Nigeria are having serious battle within the party. The news reads as follows: APC crisis latest. Why Tinubu unleashed his bloggers against Buhari. Tinubu, it was gathered, had rallied his media, including major Nigerian news outfits, print, electronic, and social media, to fight down the ex-general for entirely scorning his interests and breaching major promise made during the electoral campaign. Their political love affair has taken a new turn, leaving the president and his cronies dazing with multiple media attacks, including leakage of sensitive documents incriminating key members of the administration. Key bloggers loyal to Tinubu have already taken credit of the attacks, warning that the worst is yet to come. From Weekly Post Nigeria, senators say they are ready for battle with President Buhari. There are indications that the National Assembly is on the war path with President Buhari over the prosecution of the Senate President Dr. Bukola Saraki and his deputy, Senator Ike Ekweremadu, for alleged forgery of the Senate Standing Rules 2015. It was learned that many National Assembly members had concluded plans to frustrate any request by Buhari because of his anti-graft war against his political enemies. Following the frosty relationship, it was learned that the lawmakers have vowed to ensure that the principle of separation of powers was enforced between the two arms of government. There is also some allegations that the presidency is in collaboration with some APC leaders had made up their mind to get Saraki and Ekweremadu out at all costs. And from Vanguard newspaper, we have learned that despite stiff opposition from the federal government, and Abuja High Court at Jabi yesterday has released the Senate President Dr. Bukola Saraki and his deputy Ike Ekweremadu. There is a shocking breaking news from Punch newspaper Nigeria, which confirms that a federal high court in Abuja has ordered the governor of Abia State, Okezie Ikpeazu, to vacate office immediately for submitting false information to his party, the People's Democratic Party, for the party's governorship primary in December 2014. Justice Abang, in a judgment, ordered the Independent National Electoral Commission to immediately issue a certificate of return to the plaintiff, Uche Oga, who polled the second highest number of votes in the primary. Another breaking news from Eastern Radio Nigeria has it that Buhari abandons Fayose and goes after Wike. Barely 72 hours to the freezing of the personal account of the Ekiti State Governor Fayose, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC) is set to probe Governor Nyesom Wike of Rivers State over the withdrawal of alleged 11 billion naira from the government account that occurred between October 2015 and February 2016. According to a report published by Punch Nigeria, the anti-graft agency was directed by the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami, to conduct the investigation. Rivers State Commissioner for Information and Communications, Austin Tam George, denied the allegation made by the EFCC. This development is the latest scandal to rock the Rivers State government. Niger Delta Avengers instrument by South politicians to intimidate leaders, Junaid told Vanguard newspaper. Outspoken northern politician Dr. Junaid Mohammed has asked President Muhammadu Buhari to treat the Niger Delta Avengers NDA as terrorists and mete out appropriate military action against them as it is doing to Boko Haram insurgents in the north. Mohammed, who was a member of the last national conference, told Vanguard in an interview yesterday that it was wrong for the Buhari administration to try to appease the NDA while fighting a similar terrorist group in another part of the country. The Kano politician and former advisor to the president, Shehu Shagari, warned that any attempt by Buhari to negotiate with the Avengers instead of crushing them like terrorists would lead to another civil war. Last headline of the day, federal government will deploy Northeast troops to Niger Delta. This is a headline from Punch newspaper Nigeria. There are strong indications that the defense authorities will withdraw some war-tested soldiers from the Northeast and deploy them in the Niger Delta as part of efforts to curb the attacks on oil installations in the region. Meanwhile, the NDA had on Saturday asked President Buhari to visit the Niger Delta region to see the difficulties the dwellers were experiencing despite the huge revenue accruable to the country from the region. Muhammadu Buhari had on Friday reportedly appealed to the group in God's name to stop destroying oil installations. I'm Angelina Mambo, and that's all for today. Thank you for listening. We'll be back tomorrow.